Good evening and welcome. I am excited and very, very happy to be talking about the Breathwork Instructor Course tonight and to be fielding any questions that you have and to have a little chat about this course and to look at what we're trying to do in the world, which I believe is truly amazing. But I'm excited to be able to share this with you. So thank you, first of all, those of you who have joined us tonight. Really appreciate your time. Now, first of all, I want to introduce my team. So you can see two people up on the top. For me, it's on the top left. I'm not sure where they are on your screen. Down there is Tevi Twarkley, who is part of our team, who does a lot of amazing stuff behind the scenes. So he's a very, very key member of the team. And he's, when on your journey through the Breathwork Instructor Course, he's going to be looking after your tech journey. He's kind of like the student services and make sure everything works and does all that magic stuff that actually has to happen to make this thing really work well. So that's Tevi there. And Jemima as well as part of our team. She's up here. And she's kind of does a lot of social media stuff, a lot of editing, a lot of copying, and they're both training in breathwork as well, both doing breathwork trainings. They're both amazing people. And so they're the three of us. There's a couple of others in the team as well, but three of us are the main people working with the Breathwork Instructor team. So just want you to see their faces today so you know, if you get messages from Jemima or whatever, you know who you're talking to. My name is Christopher Gladwell. And a little bit about me. I've been doing conscious breath work as a daily discipline for the last, it's now 47 years. That's a good innings, I think, in terms of breath work so far. And it has been an amazing journey. It has been an absolutely incredible journey. And the breath takes us on this journey from the first breath we have when we're born through to the last breath we take. And we might as well enjoy it and make the most out of it. And breath work itself is a way of landing us in making the most out of this journey of life, finding that place inside of ourselves where we can live fully and freely and beautifully and powerfully in the world to make a difference. So, I've studied lots of kinds of breath work, Kumye, Qigong, Pranayam, yogic pranayam, deep practice for a very long time, embedded in various different traditions from India and Tibet. And I've also studied meditation and embodiment practices, many embodiment practices from yoga, martial arts, all sorts of stuff. So, psychotherapeutic practices, body work, structural integration, shiatsu. I did 16 years of shiatsu. So I've got a big background in practice. And all of these skills, I bet somebody else is just joining us, all of these skills, the point about all that is that I'm going to bring all this into the training to enable you to get the very, very best that I can give you and you can receive out of this training. I've been teaching since 1988, I beg your pardon, 1990. I began my teaching breathwork and yoga and things like this, breathwork-based courses since 1990, so it's quite a long time as well. And that's been consistent throughout that period. And again, I'm going to bring all that expertise into training on this course. So a little bit about me, a little bit about my team, and so welcome. I look forward to meeting you all more fully. Tonight, I'm not going to meet and greet everybody tonight, but I do look forward, if you join the course, which of course I hope you do, then I'm very much looking forward to meeting you and spending time with you. And we're going to have a lot of time together, some of it online, some of it in person. And I'll talk more about those details in a little while about how we're going to structure the training. I think, breath work is a wave. It's huge. And there are key people who have moved this wave. Breathwork has been around for a very, very long time. It's been around in yogic practice for at least 5,500 years. It's not new. Chinese practice, a good 4,000 years of history. So we've got, a long background of traditional practices behind us. And again, my training is in those traditions. So I'm bringing this to bear. Then on top of that, we've got characters like Wim Hof and Maurice Dobar, these people who've brought some of the powerful practice of breath work where they deal with cold immersion. And Maurice Dobar is a Frenchman who sits on, I worked with him actually 25 years ago, something like that. But I worked with Maurice Dobar. He's a Frenchman, lovely old man. He was 80 something when I met him, sitting on the ice slopes of Switzerland above the snow line, doing breath work and staying warm, naked in the freezing cold. And Wim Hof, of course, who's brought breath work to prominence in the modern world. So all these great teachers, and we're following the footsteps, if you like, standing on the shoulders of giants, as they say. So we're coming in that tradition. Now, breathwork in the modern world has come through in the way of rebirthing in so many different styles, transformational breathwork, and lots of styles coming through from Leonard Orr and Stanislav Grof and so many teachers. And again, my background is rooted in those as well. So I'm bringing those teachings into the course as well, so uniting this. The rest of my background is primarily biology, some psychological training as well, but biology, science, I'm a scientist, and I bring in the biological scientific background in terms of respiratory physiology, in terms of understanding mechanics. And like I said, I'm trained in structural integration, which is very much about functional anatomy. I used to teach functional anatomy. I don't anymore, but I used to teach that. So I'm bringing that in terms of understanding the relationships between what we're doing in terms of mechanics, what we're doing when we're doing a method of practice, and the physiological consequences of that, and the psychological aspects of that. So looking at the feedback loops in the system between mind, emotion, if you like, sensation in the body and the breath, and all these pieces and how they all join together. And then how we can help people to find an optimal life. We want to help people. I teach postgraduate psychiatrists. I teach doctors. I teach school teachers. I go out and teach. I'll teach anybody if they're willing to learn, to be honest with you, because I want this stuff out in the world because it makes a powerful difference to people's lives. Recently we've been out teaching. We're teaching in universities in B Corps as well, and we've been out teaching, school teachers, because I want them to teach the kids. Young people these days are so stressed out with, let's name it, Ukraine war, climate change, a recent pandemic, all this kind of stuff going on, and they're 16 and teenagers or 15 or whatever, and they're dealing with, surging adolescent hormones, and they're trying to manage that and social media. They need some help. We're aiming to help the world by doing this. This is where we're going with this, all right? And we want as many people trained as well as possible to go out in the world into the particular niches that you choose to go out into, and we'll help and support you in that the very best way we can to get out in the world and make a difference. It makes a difference. Like I said, we've got 5,500 years of training behind us coming through this stuff. That's why it's a wave, because it's real, it's solid, it's got some substance. Okay. We'll come to questions and answers at the end as well, as we're going to have a space for questions and answers. So if you've got questions that are immediately connected with what I'm saying, you can put a little thumbs up thing, or you can catch Jemima's attention perhaps. You can put something in the chat down there. If you want, there's a little chat box down there, you can put stuff in there. And Jemima will monitor that, and we'll pay attention to that. And if you've got questions for the end, we'll deal with questions that can wait for a bit until the end, and we will cover those as well. So I want you to ask anything you need to know, and we'll cover that at the end. So breathwork is this big wave. Breathwork is, in my view, I'm doing a piece of work at the moment, working with another author, a well-established author. I've written about 14 books, I think, so far. Anyway, I'm working with another well-established author, and we're looking at doing some writing on breath, in fact. And one of the things we're looking at is the way breath has moved in the evolutionary process. So the role of breath in humans, and coming to standing, has changed the breath, because we use the breath for talking. Here am I, breathing and using a modulated exhalation to deliver hopefully meaningful informational content, which you can pick up those vibrations and translate through your brain in a particular way. That's breath. And it's about a delinking of breath from movement that has enabled us to do that. And that came because these things came off the floor, paws off the floor, opposable fingers and thumbs, funky kit like computers, tool making apparatus, and the languaging that goes with that. And this is all breath focused and breath oriented. So breath has a role in terms of how it affects us in terms of our evolutionary capacities and tendencies. And we're looking at breath work then, how we can use breath work and the other meta disciplines to actually change the way the brain works. And we know we can do it, because we know, if you look at the studies of Richie Davidson out there, who's doing some great work on studying meditation, we know that when you pay attention to breath, awareness of breathing, which is the core practice we teach, that's the number one practice, and then there's about 120 others, right? So number one practice is awareness of breathing. We know that when you do that substantially enough, for long enough periods of time, it changes the neural bridges between the dorsomedial frontal cortex and the ventromedial frontal cortex and the dorsolateral frontal cortex, prefrontal cortex. And those bridges that grow stronger like that give us much more capacity for choice. We grow in choice, and we can make choices to what to respond to internally in terms of powerful emotions, for example, that may drive us otherwise. So we know some of the science behind this. We've got a lot more to learn. But the science behind this is powerful, and I want you to understand this and know this and be able to help people in a whole variety of ways. All good so far. Slow down a little bit now. Take a breath. Welcome again. This course is substance. We've got level 1, level 2, and level 3 trainings. And you're going to get those delivered out to you bit by bit through the course of the year. And with that, we've got a reading list. And that reading list, we aim for everybody to read the same book at roughly the same time. So we can do it like a book club. So we can talk about what we're reading together, and we can work with that together. And I think there's about 12 books, isn't there, on the reading list? And then the recommended reading list. The essential reading list, and we've got a recommended reading list as well for those who want to study more. And I've just finished one book called The Breath Bible, which is full of content, and a lot of it is completely and utterly new in the world. Some of this it's not out in the world at all, any other place. And you're going to be the first people to get this, which is looking at understanding the mechanics, physiology, like I said, and psychology of breath in a very clear way. So looking at how you can understand the practices and how to systematically help somebody to create functional breathing. You need to know why somebody's breathing like they're breathing. Breathing is entrained. It's not just, there is no such thing as natural breathing. Breathing is entrained. We learn it from our culture. We learn it from our parents. We learn it from trauma and stress. We learn how to respond to the context of our environment, and the breath changes with that. And we're using breath work because when we change the breath, we can change those other contexts, those internal contexts, those internal relationships and entrainments, and liberate those. Yeah. So we need to know why somebody's doing that. And we can look at the body, we can do body reading. And we're going to train in all of this through Breath Course Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3. Level 3 is the biggest one. Jemima is going to take you through some of this and have a look at some of the structure of the course training. But Level 3 is the biggest. And like I said, we're going to be looking at systematics. There's no other breathwork training in the world that is really looking at systematics. Not one. I know them. I taught at the International Breathing Festival in Mexico this year. I met a lot of the greatest breathwork teachers in the world. And I know none of them are doing systematics. Not really. Not in any meaningful way. We're going to really look at mechanics. There's nobody else out there doing mechanics. The next level course we're doing an advanced level course as well, which does have much more of the mechanics in it. We're going to be doing that. And we're going to be looking at physiology as well. And there are people in the world doing that, not particularly well yet. There's a couple of people, of course, Patrick McCowan is doing a great job of that, and Peter Litchfield. And there are people doing really, really good stuff on that. And we want to be ranking in that domain as well. So we're doing that. Like I said, we're bringing the science into this as well. And we've got 120 methods or so. I haven't actually counted them recently, all of which have different effects on the brain and in the system. And we want you to, we've got, I think, about 30 core methods, which we want you to get really familiar with in your discipline. Because one of the things about this is we're going to make you practice. We want you to practice. We're going to make you practice every day. You're going to have a daily practice. Like I said, I've had a daily practice for 47 years. We want you to walk away at the end of this course with a daily practice for at least 1 year, so you can start doing that for the rest of your life in a meaningful, powerful, and beautiful way. So we're going to be engaging with those 30 core practices over the course of the year to get you entrained, comfortable, happy, get them embodied so you can deliver those well. All right? Wow, it's a lot, and it's going to be good. But I promise you, it's manageable. It's very manageable, okay? Like I said, discipline is a key part. On top of this, with the training, we've got 2 group calls per month, one on a Tuesday evening and one on a Saturday morning. We've put the 2 different times in to try and help people in different time zones fit in. The calls will be recorded, and those are kind of 1.5 hours to 2 hour training sessions where we're going to look at any issues you have, how to incorporate practices, how to help clients, and any additional training that we want to do that arises through the course of the training. I will be there to help you to understand, to embed, to embody, and to engage with the practice in a super powerful way so that you can take them out into the world. And those 2 sessions a month, that's one Tuesday night, one Saturday night, it's 4 hours extra a week of doing that, okay, on top of that, which you're going to get. And that will be with me all the way through. We're going to get you accountability buddies. So when you join in, we've got a community of practitioners we're going to growing, and we want a community of practitioners after the course as well. We don't want you to just do a year's course and suddenly you're gone and we leave you alone because we've made some money from you. We're not interested in that. Well, we're interested in money. We need to make money, obviously, to keep everything rolling. But the main thing we want to be building is a powerful community of practitioners, people who want to help us build Embody Breath as well. So we're looking at training up the next level after the first year course, and then people who can do training. You know, I'm getting old now. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to be around forever. So, you know, we want to train people up to keep this going out in the world and put it out in a really good way, and to build this work so we can take it out. Like I said, we think it's going to make a difference in terms of the evolution of humanity. We know it is. We've got some of the science behind us now. I'm just reading some of David Beresby's works and Robert Sapolsky's work at the moment, some of the neuroscience of behavior stuff. It is amazing. And I know that with breath work, we can make differences. That's what we're doing. We want you to be part of this. Right? So it's going to be an ongoing thing. As long as you want to be in and carry on deepening and diving in deep, then great. We're keen. We're happy to have you on board. So we're going to have accountability buddies to help you to stay on track with your discipline, with your training. And we're going to have, growing teaching through the course of thing. We're going to be growing you as a teacher, as a facilitator, as a practitioner. So one of the things we really want to do is to get you out into the world. Now, I was talking to somebody and saying, realistically, if you have 12 clients over the course of, say, for example, you know, the second half of the training, the last 3/4 of the training through, we want you to start pretty quickly working with clients. Now, yes, you'll charge less to begin with, but you're going to get your training in because we want you out there doing it. If you get 12 clients and do 4 sessions with each client, you've paid for the course completely. You know, and we want to encourage you and to help that to happen. We want to make that very viable for you. So it's not just an expense, it's an investment in an ongoing training. And we foresee this kind of breathwork training being in, for example, frontline GP surgeries. The number of people that come into a GP surgery, and actually what's going on is they're really anxious, or they're dealing with so much stress. And we know from the health service statistics that 73 to 76% of the UK population have found themselves in a state of overwhelm at some point in the last year or two. That is massive. You're talking about people who are so adrenalized, so stressed, that they're in a state of overwhelm and they can't cope. And we know that stress is the main killer. It leads to cardiometabolic disorders, cancers, autoimmune disorders. All the diseases of the Western world have stress implicated in there somewhere. And we know that we can downregulate from stress so successfully with breath work that when you train, within 9 breaths, you can bring yourself out of the biggest pickle you can imagine yourself being in, and you can downregulate to find a place of peace and calm and ease really quickly. And you can train other people to do that. We want this out there. It's necessary. Okay. On top of that, at the end of the year's training, we've got a retreat, which is going to be fun. It's in Portugal, in a beautiful place in the north of Portugal, near Coimbra, and it is a really wonderful place, beautiful land. And we're going to be out there doing some breath work from early morning till late at night to take you through your paces. And we are going to assess you. The assessment, I promise you one thing, there are no essays on this course. Not everybody likes writing anyway these days, but there aren't any essays. They're of value. I like them. I love writing myself, but not everybody does. So what we have got is Tevi, how many questions is it on the assessment, on the quiz? Is it 140?
Yep, 140.
140. Yep. We've got a quiz for you, which is a part of it, which is 140 questions. And we only want 100%. No, I'm just joking. What is it? 80% or something, isn't it, Tev? Something like that? I think it's about 80% pass rate. When you get, and the quiz itself isn't really a test. It is, because we want you to know we want you to know the stuff. But what it's aimed as is a learning support. So we framed it in a way so that you can work out what the answers are to that, to help you to remember and to train yourself in learning and continuing and deepening the learning. So it's not just a kind of random school test. We haven't done it that way. We don't want to do that. And the other part of the assessment we've got is on retreat. When you come on retreat, we'll be asking you to putting you through your paces to teach some of the practices and to ideally do a presentation on a topic which is yet to be defined. We will work out what to give you in due course of time, and you'll get that, and you'll have a little bit of preparation time, and you're going to stand up and deliver. And that, of course, is a fabulous way for doing things like preparing you for going out in the world and doing presentations if you don't already have those skills. You know, the capacity to stand up in front of a group of people and just entertain yourself and educate the people in the room and entertain them is a powerful skill. And we want you to have those skills so you don't drop into a place of self-consciousness or, you know, unable to be in that space in a good way. So that presentation is part of that training, if you like. Right, I think I'm just checking on codes. Oh yes, we've got another piece as well. We've got to build a business pack because we want you to be able to make money out of this, because that's how the world works. So we understand the system we're in. Yeah. Now, of course, these practices came from a tradition where people like myself, who've dedicated decades to practice, would be supported by the community. It's a thing called dana, which means generosity. It means sublime generosity. So in those cultures where these come from, a teacher like myself would have been supported by the community. My house, I would have a house. I would be fed. I wouldn't have to worry about anything because my job is teaching. But our culture doesn't work that way. Our culture is a capitalist culture, which means you have to sell stuff. We have to sell it to outreach, to make it, to help people, we have to sell things. So we understand all of that, so we can help you build a business out of this, right? That's what we're doing, because that's how it goes out into the world, because that's the world we're living in. We have to honor that and have to work effectively with that. So we've got a great business pack we're putting together, which is going to help you to do this as well. We're also hoping to build a community. We want you on board as part of the community. We've got a growing community. Now, just got to say one more thing. This is the first time we're doing this training. So we haven't got lots of testimonials for this course. We've got lots of testimonials. I've got some, where did I put them? I've got this card here, look, from somebody I just did a thing with, and she gave some great testimonials. But we've got lots of testimonials for other elements of the work that we do, but not for this course, not yet, because this is the first time we're doing it. So one of the reasons we're putting it out at this price is because we will iron out any irregularities. I hope there aren't any, but if there are any, we'll find them. And so next time we do this course, we're going to put it slightly more expensive. So we're going to make this one accessible and open for just about everybody. And we want people out doing it. We are, of course, supporting a couple of people through the course. We do bursaries. One of my things is to make things financially accessible for people who can't afford to do that. We find ways of doing that. I think any questions so far? Any questions for anybody so far before I pass you over to Jemima and Tevi and do their pieces? Show you what we're doing. Anybody? You can unmute yourself if you want to. If you just unmute yourself, you can ask.
Just one question, if I may. What are the timings of the Tuesday and Saturday call, if you don't mind?
Absolutely, yeah. Timings, I believe the Tuesday is 7 to 8:30 or 7 to 9 if we do 2 hours. And the Saturday morning is 10 to 12 in the morning.
I think it's 9 actually.
9 to 11.
Maybe. I'm pretty sure, but we can.
It's fine just to be roughly, at least I have an idea. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a Saturday AM. We don't want to drag it going to the day for people. And it's once a month, the Saturday. It's one Saturday a month.
Is it London time?
It's GMT. That's GMT.
Okay, because I live in the United States, so I'll have to figure that out.
Yeah,
they will be recorded.
Oh, will they? Okay,
They will,
thank you.
yes, just because we know that not everyone will be able to make it live, so they will be recorded.
Yeah, and the Tuesday session is in the evening, specifically for people in a different time zone. So the Tuesday sessions in the evening in GMT, so kind of mid-morning, early afternoon, dependent on where you are.
You might notice that Tevi's sitting in the jungle up there. He's definitely not in the UK, by the way. You can see.
Oh no, I'm in Costa Rica as well. So so the time helps. I'm 7 hours behind the UK, so these times really help.
Yeah, well, it's 2:20 in the afternoons here, so it works. Tuesdays work.
Yeah.
Saturdays might be a little bit complicated for me.
Yes, I hear you with regard to that one. And we will record them. I don't know if there's a way around that, to be honest with you.
Well, we can record them, and also I am going to be available on email all the time, and we are setting up a WhatsApp group. So for any questions that you have that come up and you can't ask them in the Saturday session, you can email me. You can, and I can speak to Chris. You can get in touch via the WhatsApp group. So there will be lots of opportunity for support and, to support your questions that you have. Shall I Shall I show?
Yeah, go for it, Joanna.
Okay, so I was going to just show what the online classroom looks like. So let me share my screen. Okay, share. So can you all see my screen? I hope you can. Okay.
Yep.
So this is what the online classroom looks like. So what you'll do is you'll have a login, and you will log in to Christopher's website. And then in the top right-hand corner, you'll see something that says My Dashboard. And also you've got a space here where you can manage your account. So if I've clicked on the dashboard already, so this is where I am now. So I'm coming into Conscious Breathwork Level 1, which is included in this. And there's also Conscious Breathwork Level 2 and Level 3. So I'm just going to show you as an example, Level 1 and then Level 3 as well. So clicking on to Level 1. So, okay, I've already done a fair bit of this because I've been working with Chris for a while, and I'm responsible for creating content. So I'm a good testimonial. If anyone wants to ask me for an honest, well, kind of honest, maybe a bit biased, some feedback there on the courses. I've also trained with Chris as a yoga teacher a fair few years ago now. So I've been working with him for a while. So as you can see down the left-hand side, so it says here that I'm 92% complete with this. But what you do is you'll work your way through the course, and they're all video lessons. And then you will also have a supporting document here, a PDF. So the videos are not downloadable, but the PDFs, and they get more and more comprehensive, especially in CB3, Conscious Breathwork 3, they are available for you to download and keep for life. So it's really a lifetime of content for teaching and for yourself, for your own practice, to refer back to whenever you need to. So that's really, really valuable. And then these are a few of the lessons here. And I can send you the curriculum in a separate document. So I'm just going to give you a glimpse of it here, but I can email you or anyone who wants to know a bit more about the lessons included. So I think there are 25 lessons, video lessons in Conscious Breathwork 1, around about 25 in Conscious Breathwork 2. And as Chris has spoken about, it's a systematic system of teaching. So it takes you right from the beginning of breath work and breath practices through to a lot more in-depth and extensive practices that will be more relatable to you from a teaching perspective. So this is Breathwork 1. Let me go to Breathwork Level 3. Level 3. So I'm just going to click the sidebar. So this is the beast, I like to call this one. It has, so number 1 and number 2 are sort of the foundations of breathwork, and will give you a really good foundation to your own breathwork practice, and something that you can, practice every day and get used to each practice. And then number 3, so if I go down to the methods here, you can see there are 87 lessons in the methods. And these all vary in length from around about 7 minutes to 20 minutes or even more, perhaps. You can see along here 7 minutes, 6 minutes, 14, 23. And there are a lot there. And as I said, I can send these to you so you can refer to them on your computer in digital format. But we have, and at the end of this one is the big quiz to consolidate what you've learned so far. And what we have done, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Stop share. So what we have worked on is a structure. So we're going to send you, anyone who joins the training, a handbook. And in that handbook will be things like the call times, how to log on to those calls, the community spaces, your support, feedback that we want from you at any time during your journey, and also a structure of training. So we've worked out that it's about 3 lessons a week from level 1 all the way through to level 3. Now that is in addition to your daily practice that you'll be doing, and daily journal keeping of how you're finding the breath, and each practice that you go through. So you will get a structure, a recommended structure, and it might be that you do it a little bit less than that. There's room for give or take, for holidays and sick days and whatever else, down days that you have. So that's that in a sort of nutshell. So I was also just going to really quickly, before we go back to Chris and before we hear any of your questions, I am doing the training as well, and I just wanted to give my perspective on why I'm doing the training and what I hope to get out of it, because it's going to be super different from the breath master there, Chris, who's been doing and living and breathing this for more than 40 years now. So one of my passions is to make breathwork super accessible. And I'm a mum of 2, so I will be doing it around looking after the children, doing the other things that I have on here. And I want to be able to give one-to-one sessions as a sort of wellness service, including with my yoga and breath work. So you might see me, I don't know if any of you follow Christopher Gladwell's page on Instagram or Facebook, but I've done a few bits and pieces there with teaching, and I'm personally really excited to be on this journey to train as a breath worker and make it really accessible to lots of other parents and people in the village I live in and things like that. So I'm also excited to work with anyone else who joins and to be a big support to people as well. And yeah, I think I will leave it there and hand back to Chris.
Thank you, Jemima. Thanks for showing people through the online learning classroom. Great stuff. There's a couple of other pieces I just want to mention. One is accreditation, and this first level of training is accredited, and we've got it with a CPD-based organisation. It's a CPD organisation for the first level of training, and when those of you go on to do the second year as well, that's accredited with the GPBA, which is Global Professional Breathwork Alliance. And that's because they only give credit 2 years, and they won't accredit anything under 2 years of training. Now, that's a good thing, I think, by the way. There's breathwork courses out there. You can become a breathwork master, I think, in 3 weeks with one training I saw online. And it's all online. There's not even anything in person. It's quite amazing. So we're not working that way. The year is going to be accredited with a CPD organisation. We've had to do a lot of work to go through that process of accreditation, and we've had to do a lot of work to get accredited with the GPBA. So that's the accreditation aspect of that training. The another thing we're doing as well, we do have breath days in the UK. We're hoping to do some internationally as well. So you can always invite us over to do them in the USA if you join us, and I will definitely come up and do them. But we've got breath days here in the UK. I was doing them in Ireland and Germany and various places as well before the pandemic.
And to add to that, I'm working to help someone in this. I'm working on organising some in the US and in Costa Rica.
Awesome. Yeah. So we've got some in London, we've got some in Bristol, various places in the UK, but these breath days are amazing. They're really good. And we do a range of breathwork practices within that, and are looking at the science and all sorts of elements of that within the day. They're pretty impressive. And people walk away having had a changed experience of life. It is transformational stuff. And what we want for you as practitioners, if you can come and join us, is come and breathe on those days, first of all, and then also starting to come and to help out. So to come on the other end of the other end of the group, if you like, and start looking at what it's like from the facilitator's perspective. First of all, just observing, and then gradually getting involved in terms of helping to facilitate. And that's an opportunity as well, which we're not charging any extra for or anything of that kind. It's just there as an addition if that's doable for people. And the other element of the training, which we haven't mentioned yet, is we have this community called the Embody Evolution Community. And we have some of those people are joining in the training as well now. I think about 3 of them are joining in the breathwork training. But so it's a group of about 30 or 40 individuals so far. And what they do is there's a subscription base to that program. And they have access to a number of the online courses, including BC1. But they also have access to several of the books I've written, and they have access to me twice a week because they have live online sessions twice a week on a Monday evening and a Thursday morning. One is a breathwork, kind of a breath-based meditation session. Sometimes it involves psychological process and various things. And then there's a breath movement session, which varies a lot in terms of what it is, but it's a breath movement based session on a Thursday. And those get recorded and they get put online. So we have a library of around about 200, it must be nearly 250, I think it's about 242 sessions now that we've done. And that library is there, becomes part of what you can access on this training as well. So if you want to just do a practice from, looking at breath on the pelvic floor or, breath and self-referencing in meditation or whatever the different aspects of that are, we've got a whole range of them, then you can access those and have access, and you've got access to all of that library as well. So that we think that's a good addition to give you. So those are the other pieces I want to mention. Debbie, do you want to say anything now? Is there anything you want to add before we go to questions and answers? Or questions at least.
Yeah, and so obviously mentioning the combination between, so obviously there's the online study, the sessions that we have as a group, the online sessions from a member perspective, you can join every week. The different in-person events we'll be organising. And then, so at the end of the training, there's a week retreat in Portugal. And in that session, it'll be a very intensive week of really diving in and demonstrating the practices, running sessions, supporting each other and running those sessions, and then ensuring that we're kind of not just learning the practices, but then recognizing how to apply them and how to effectively apply them. So then we'll be having that week retreat where you can really dive into that, and it will be not necessarily like overly tested, but you'll be kind of applying them, and we'll be expecting you to run certain sessions as a group. So you'll be leading sessions, so you get that experience of really helping people work through these practices.
Thank you, Toby. Thank you.
There's Claire has asked a question about whether the books are included in the course. Claire, Christopher's books are, and there are probably about 4 books of Christopher's that are included. The rest are not. They're not included in the cost of the course.
The ones I've written, I think Lucidity, isn't it? Lucidity, Protecting Planet Earth, which is a wonderful little book. The Breath Bible, which I said is currently standing around 700 pages. That is going to keep you busy for a year, and we'll work through that together. But there's one other one, isn't there? Do you know what the other one is? There's another one as well. I know there's 3. There's
not
another
Protecting Planet Earth, is it? No.
I mentioned that one. There's one other as well.
Okay.
So you get those 4, yes, from me. You get those as part of the course. Anybody? The other. I mean, there are things we don't fund. For example, you've got to get yourself to Portugal. We're not going to pay for travel to Portugal. You've got to get yourself there. But once you're in Portugal, everything's covered. Once you arrive at the retreat space, you get fed, watered beautifully. It's really good food. So you get looked after right royally. But you have to get there and get home, obviously. But we don't cover the travel expenses. But I think that's about it that we don't cover. Travel expenses and those costs of those additional books. But I think everything else is covered within the fee of the course. Anything else, anybody?
Yeah, two quick questions, if I may. One is, when are you expecting people to start? It sounds like you're trying to get a cohort to be your first group on this. And then a second question, you mentioned a bit about sort of year 2 or sort of the advanced course. How was that just language and terminology, or how do you see this sort of, you do the year cycle, and how do you then see it unfolding after that?
Okay, great. Thank you. Good questions. I think it depends on the individual for a start. Okay. In terms of the cohort, let's come to that question first. In terms of the cohort, we're starting on June the 25th, Saturday, June the 25th. So that's the beginning of this course. We already have a cohort together. We're looking at expanding it. So we want a few more people to join us. We want to keep it nice and bijou, good quality, right? But we're beginning on June the 25th, I beg your pardon, this year. Right, so that's that first question. In terms of seeing the structure of the course, this is a standalone training. So you'll be qualified as a breathwork facilitator at the end of this training. To carry on to be kind of an advanced level instructor with Embody, that would require you to take up the second level of training should you choose, right? So that's another year of training after this, which is going to go a whole lot deeper still. And then after that, if people want to train up as trainers with us, then we're going to be training trainers as well in this kind of, I'd say, methodology. It's not a method because it's not one method. You know, we don't just have, if you think of it in terms of tools, we have a whole tool bag, not just one tool. It's not just a hammer or a chisel, it's the whole caboodle. So we're looking at training people up in understanding what it is to be human and how these tools work and really why they work like they do. So for example, you know, as I understand it, conscious breathwork practice needs to really work well with the other meta disciplines that we teach. We talk about 4 meta disciplines and how they fit together. And the meta disciplines are meditative depth, meditation, and understanding what that means in terms of, you know, neuroscientific function as well. It's not just, you know, trancing out. It's not going into a trance state. It's not going to the dream state. It's understanding what meditation is. And again, you know, I said on this course, you get access to the book Lucidity, which is called the Yogas of, let's see what I can remember, it's called the Yogas of Dream, Trance, Waking and Awakening, an introduction to the art of a joyous life. That's the actual title of it, Lucidity. So that's looking at different states, like, you know, different brainwave states and different practices and how they work effectively. And there's a big piece on meditation and meditative depth in there. So so we've got conscious breath work, which is the key. And then there's meditative depth. And I've chosen that term. Sometimes we use the term mind mastery to distinguish it from mindfulness. And mindfulness was a practice that was taken from the Theravadan tradition of Buddhism and translated badly from the word sati. Because sati actually means heartfelt presence. And how you get from heartfelt presence to mindfulness, I'm not quite sure. But that leap has been made into the Western world. So sati is the same as smriti in Sanskrit, which means remembrance. So but we're talking about mind mastery here, or meditative depth, the terms we tend to use. But it's really understanding meditation and accessing an accelerated way into those skills, because they're skills, natural human skills. So conscious breath work, meditative depth. Another one we work with a lot is embodied awareness. And again, in the level 2 course, we're going to do more of that. And then the last aspect, the last meta discipline we work with is relational intelligence. So, okay, great. You create an optimal, highly functional human being. Fantastic, great. That human being has to be in relationship with the rest of the planet, all other life form and other human beings. So that relational edge of communication and the other skills of relational intelligence come in. So breathwork fits within the whole embody evolution pillars, if you like, the 4 pillars or the 4 meta disciplines that we teach. So this methodology of conscious breath work that you'll be training in is one of those key pillars, one of those key 4 pillars. And the second one, we're going to go more into the others as well. Okay, I hope that helps a little bit. And then hopefully we're going to train people up to move this out into the world in a powerful way.
Claire, if you don't mind, I'm just going to read out one of your questions about when would you expect to be ready to see your first clients? And I think I'll hand this over to Chris, but we've spoken about it being after Breathwork 1 and 2. And I've already got a client that I'm a friend who comes to my yoga class who I'm going to be teaching and using as a sort of like a case study. So we'll encourage everyone else to do the same. But Chris, do you want to say a few words on that?
Yeah, but by the Breathwork 1, Breathwork 2, you're going to that's 25 lessons on the first breath BC1. It's 27 on BC2. All right. So you're going to have cracked through those within about 14 weeks of beginning or less, 12 weeks of beginning the training. So within 3 months into the training, we want you to be taking on your first client. And your first client can be a friend. We are going to ask you to charge people. Yeah. Even if it's just £1 or $1 or whatever. Take something in terms of some kind of financial energetic token. If they haven't got any money, then take an apple or something. Receive something for your work. That's what we're saying. Don't give it for free, because that's not the world we work in. If we lived in this world, then I would be living on Dana, and I'm not. Nobody is here. So we want to work within this construct that we're living in and make sense out of this. So we ask you to charge and receive something and start taking your first clients by about that kind of time. And so we'll be doing, within the sessions we're doing on the Tuesday evening and Saturday, we'll be moving in towards that in terms of enabling you to have enough confidence and clarity around what we're doing with regard to that and getting into that position. That's our intention. And we'll work then individually with each person in terms of how ready you feel. There's one other thing you get, and that is extremely good value one-to-one sessions with me, by the way. So if you feel that you're struggling in some way and want some extra support, you get access to that as well. And we can do some stuff. I do charge for those, but it's a very much reduced rate. I normally charge £150. That's about, $200 an hour. So, we'll reduce that substantially to enable you to get access and continuous access, ongoing access with that, to get help with that. But we want to be helping you and supporting you in this process, because we want you to get confident by the end of the course that you can go out in the world and you can deliver this stuff and it makes enough sense to you. Okay? Hope that's helpful. Any other questions around that, please add them into the pot. I love these questions. Keep them coming.
Is your breath work done laying down or sitting up? Or is there a preference?
It's a good question. I like it. You can do it sitting down, and sitting down could include kneeling, because it depends on the person. Again, it depends on you, and depends on your body, and depends on your personal movement history and everything else about your body, injuries and so forth, as to what is accessible for you. So some of the practices are done lying down, specifically done lying down. Some of them are done sitting up, right? It varies, but they could be done on a chair. When sitting up, we mean on the sit bones with a erect spine. Yeah. So it's a variety of approaches. Some of them can even be done walking. I do breathwork practices when I'm driving, when I'm walking, and all the time I'm on the computer, and I'm spending a lot of time on the computer at the moment because I'm doing some more content work, building a lot of content for you guys. So, so I do breathwork all the time when I'm doing that. And again, we want you to start getting this into your life. One of the books you get, they get the micro practices book, don't they? Yeah. So the micro practices book is about actually weaving these things. So you've got formal practices for yourself, where you sit down and you'll do, whether it's 15 minutes or half an hour of practice, whatever you do for your formal practice session. So you're working with particular practices and getting familiar with those. But then there's informal practices, and informal practices are when you're out shopping, and you notice a state change or something, and you want to be with the state change, explore that state change. Maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's excitement, whatever it is, and you can play with that, and you can play with the breath in that. Or when you're in the car and you want to just stay really clear, if you're doing a long drive, you can pace your breathing to get to a really nice cadence, with the eyes open, obviously. Yeah, to stay alert and present and also super relaxed as you're driving. And the same on the computer. We want to keep out of any, complex brainwave states, overly busy beta states from being on the computer, that kind of thing. So we can use breathwork in a variety of ways. All right. Anything else? And it would be amazing. It'd be a great thing to do. Because, one thing we haven't mentioned so far is personal development. You're going to get a lot of personal development work on this course, but when you start and when you finish, you're going to be a different person, because that's what the breathwork does, or breathwork level 3. And that's where the real juice is for the breathwork training. Now, the breathwork level 1 and level 2 are necessary to get people ready for breathwork level 3. So we're not selling Breathwork 3 as a standalone course, because if people haven't done Breathwork 1 and Breathwork 2, it doesn't make any sense. So at the moment, we're releasing only Breathwork 1 and Breathwork 2 as standalone courses for the public. And we're doing this course because this gives us Breathwork 1, Breathwork 2, and Breathwork 3 as one unit. And then later on, we're going to do Breathwork 4 plus the Functional Anatomy course, plus the Mind Mastery plus for the year 2.
Follow up I have is, it sounds as though there's going to be, you're thinking about a level 2 instructor course. as well as part of year 2 that's separate to this, which I think you mentioned earlier on. Is that right?
Yeah, there's going to be a level 2, yes, an advanced level, yes. Yes, it's already planned. Some of it's already ready to go. It's just that, we originally, we thought about doing it in a variety of ways. But what we found is for the GPBA accreditation, which is a 2-year course, a lot of people don't want to do 2 years training.
One, you can then go and earn money, run sessions, 2 different elements. And then a core part of year 2 training, actually, as part of year 2 training, you have to complete 100, I believe it's 100 actual one-to-one sessions with individuals. So a core part of that is actually then doing that work as part of the training. But for year 1, you can then go off and do sessions, one-to-one sessions, etc. And you'll have the foundations and also the guidance and material to do so, to know how to handle different situations, etc. And then also, I think a really important part of this is once you've finished year 1, it's not like we just throw you out into the world and you go off and do whatever you want. It's like it is a cohort, and then you are alumni. And this is about building a community of people who go out and teach breathwork intelligently. And so, like what Christopher was saying, there are instructor programs out there that are like 4 weeks long, to be honest. There are some that are weekend, people teaching you can become a breathwork instructor in a weekend, and that's just simply not true. So obviously we have to cater to the expectations of people while still ensuring the depth and systematics that we wish to achieve with the instructors that we're sending out into the world. So that's really, really important. And yeah, so there's just those different elements, and so catering for different people's appetites. And to be honest, we aren't launching the 2-year yet. We're waiting to do this 1 year with people to get you that foundations in place, and then progressively, as you've gone through the experience, as you've done the retreat, then progressively launching the year 2 and offering that to people as well.
I think also there's if you look at what's available in terms of breathwork, I mean, Tevi came with me. I was teaching the International Breathing Festival at Los Cabos in Mexico this year. And it's interesting watching what is, seeing and feeling what is in the world of breathwork. Now, you can do stuff online where you can get people breathing in and out through the mouth. You can do this. You can try it yourself. Very quickly, what you're going to do is you're going to blow off carbon dioxide out of your blood. So you're going to, if you blow off carbon dioxide out of your blood, which happens, you pump it out of your lungs, therefore it's coming out the blood. Yeah. What happens is the oxygen can't get from the red blood cells in your the hemoglobin in your red blood cells. It can't leave that and go into the cells. So by doing that, you're deoxygenating your brain. So very quickly you start to feel a bit fizzy, a bit dizzy, a bit kind of strange in your brain. And one of the reasons for doing longer practices like that is precisely to do that. However, if you do that, yeah, and you do it through your mouth, you're building up problems for yourself. Your mouth breathing is not sustainable. It's a problem. It's going to cause problems. And we know now from an empirical base that mouth breathing is linked to a whole host of cardiometabolic disorders long term. So it's not a sustainable strategy. And then when people do things like you get, and again, I have great respect for the breathwork teachers that are out in the world. Like I said, we're standing on their shoulders. This is no disrespect intended at all. But I've seen people doing breath holding stuff where they come out of a breath hold and they breathe in less, like this. Now, of course, if you think about that, excuse me, I was extremely uncomfortable. If you think about that, what people are learning there in their body is they're in training, getting trained. And training means you're training it in. In training, panic into your system because you're breathing in from the brainstem. Now, the way we teach breath holding, we do a lot of stuff around breath holding because breath holding is a key element of practice. Yeah. When we're training in breath holding, what you need to know is how to release the breath hold intelligently. We talk about neurological intelligence and breath hold release. Right? So neurological intelligence and breath hold release means that you don't breathe in from the brainstem. You don't breathe in from that place of panic. You hold your breath and yes, push it. Push it until you feel your brainstem pushing your diaphragm. You can do it. You can get your diaphragm kicking 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Great. And by doing that, you're building these beautiful positive benefits from hormesis, which are amazing. They're really good. The ultimate stressor, if you like, is breath holding. The fear of death. So we can learn a lot in our bodies and we can build resilience like nothing else. And you're going to train people to do this. Yeah? But then you have to train them how to release the breath really intelligently. So when they come out of it, it comes from a place of dorsolateral prefrontal cortex decision making, not brainstem reaction. Does that make sense? So we're going to train you up in a high level of skill. So we've got a lot to cover in a year. And then we're going to go deeper in year 2. How good is that? If you want to continue, and if you don't, if you've had enough of us, you know, some of you will say that's enough for me. That's all I wanted anyway. And then fantastic. This is more awesome. That's great. Okay, so there's just those options there, depending on the individual, depending on your individual journey, and it's all good. Yeah, I hope that makes some kind of sense. But thank you, and thank you again for those good questions. All right, any more there? Any more questions?
Claire, just to address what you've asked, can you do group sessions as well as one-to-one? Do you mean, well, yes, you can teach the sessions. Is that what you mean? Or do you mean, can you do group sessions with Chris as well as a one-to-one?
Yeah, with clients, I mean.
With clients, okay, thank you. Yes, yes, you will be able to. We ask you to start off with one-to-ones, obviously, because that gives you a lot of training in terms of being, because if you're going to go straight into group work, that kind of wouldn't work. You need to work with one-to-ones first, and then gradually build up to small groups and then large groups. Because, you know, I like systematics, forgive me, but I like systematics. You'll understand this if you work with me. All of you, I imagine, can, you know, have some reading capacity. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be here, okay? Right? I'm saying that because I have some friends who are highly dyslexic who don't read very well, right? So we have other ways of learning as well, and that needs to be honoured as well. And that's why we do a lot of visual content as well, by the way. But there's you know, to learn to read, if you remember back to when you did it when you were a kid, you learned A, B, C, D, E, yeah? I don't know, the songs may be different in different cultures. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. Yeah, you do a thing like that. And then you learn that each of these sounds has a different shape that goes with it. And actually that each of the shapes in the English language is a bit confusing. In Sanskrit, it's less confusing. But in English, A is A, and R. It's got 3 sounds, hasn't it? So you have to learn the phonetics of it as well, that each of those shapes, which is called the letter A, actually have 3 sounds, A, and R. B, bar. Yeah, Sanskrit, they have different letters for those. So in fact, Sanskrit, though it's a longer alphabet, is much easier. Right? But we have to learn that. And then we have to join the A and the B and the C, or the C and the A and the T, to make up a word, which is cat, and know what that sound means, which is that little furry animal, feline. Meow. Yeah? Right? But then the cat sat on the mat. We do sentences. The cat sat on the mat. Yeah? That takes time. And it takes a systematic process of learning. And breathwork isn't any different. You can't go suddenly to reading, you know, Tolstoy's War and Peace version of breathwork if you haven't learned ABCs. So whether teaching or whether learning the breathwork, we like to take the space and the time to make sure that all those pieces are in place. So when you come to do whatever it is that you're going to be doing, you know, I know somebody who has a vision of leading breathwork sessions in Wembley Stadium. Absolutely fine. What a wonderful idea. If any of you want to go and do that, fantastic. But start with the one-to-ones, gradually build up the groups, get really skilled at doing that, and let's get to Wembley Stadium. Let's do this. I hope to see as many of you as possible on the journey with us. And again, if you have any questions, get back to me or Tevi or Jemima. Jemima's probably your first port of call.
Yeah, send me an email. Any questions you have, just send me an email and I will respond.
Yeah, Jemima will be your first port of call, and then she'll get in touch with me if you need any more than that. Okay. But anyway, I think unless there's anything else, I'm kind of done for tonight. I think, is that right? Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you ever so much again for joining us. Really, really appreciate your time. Right. And stay blessed. Have a beautiful journey, and hope to see some of you downstream.
Thank you. Good evening. Good afternoon.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.